This story contains content of a sexual nature. Day 12. He was so nice. Have you got everything you need? Yes, thank you. Okay, I'm going to start the tape then. Interview with Paula Lee Reynolds, Sunday the 12th of January 2025, commencing 15:49. Ms. Reynolds, could you tell us about the man in question, Mr. Michael Bell? He was so nice. He really surprised me. Nowadays, you don't expect them to be so nice. Well, a lot of them are, but it never lasts very long. It's like they have almost no capacity for it. They have a little well of chivalry and it dries up really quickly. But Mike was different. He seemed to really enjoy being a gentleman, sort of old-fashioned. And how did you meet? Well, that was the other thing. I've been out with a lot of guys and they always come on to me. Sorry, that sounds really big-headed. What I mean is, I get pestered a lot. The apps have their various ways of stopping that happening, but there's usually a workaround and we get a load of just really horrible stuff, like all the time. It's tiring. But what choice do we have? Do I have? I always felt that if I tried to meet someone the way my parents did, I'd end up with my throat slit or getting drugged or God knows what. So, I'm on the apps. I get all the crap, but at least it's at arm's length. At least I can decide what I respond to, who can continue a conversation with me. I felt more in control, in some ways. But there are awful surprises sometimes. It's amazing what you can imagine reading someone's words, but the person is just... Yes, and Mr. Bell? Right. Yeah, I didn't meet him online. He didn't seek me out. I didn't either. We just met in a lift. Apparently we were going to the same gym. Hit Fitness on Rose Street? Yeah, exactly. You probably know, but you can't get into the gym without the gym's app. And when he got to the desk, his phone was dead. So I offered to lend him my charger because they weren't letting him in. He actually said no at first. I insisted. That would have been that, but I insisted. So he said thank you, and that he would find me inside to give it back. I told him there was no rush, he could keep charging while he was in the gym. And he gave you the charger back? Yes. I finished earlier than he did, so he ran back to the changing room to get it before he carried on. And then what happened? Nothing. For a while. We didn't see each other there, and then I went in on the 15th of February. I remember because it was the day after Valentine's, which must have been a few weeks after we first met. Anyway, at the desk they said someone had left something for me, and it was a pink envelope with a charger cable in it. There was a note saying Happy Valentine's Day with his name and number. So you contacted him? I was really excited. It was like being back at school. I'd totally forgotten that dating could be like that. It felt so analog. But I didn't call or anything for a few days. I talked to my mum about it and she said it was very romantic. But then you did. Yeah, I sent him a text to say thank you and he asked me out if I would like to meet. I assumed he meant for a coffee or something, but he offered to take me to the theatre. I couldn't remember the last time I went to the theatre. It was this new show. He said he was a fan of the writer. It was lovely to have an excuse to wear a dress for a change. And he looked great. On the train, I imagined all the cliches about men making moves in the dark at the cinema, but honestly, I was annoyed. Why was that? He was really into the play. It was about a teacher who was in a relationship with the mother of one of his pupils and they sort of almost ended up together or something, but I was too distracted because I was waiting for something to happen. With Mr. Bell, you mean? He sat forward the whole time, just engrossed. I felt quite ignored, so I turned on the charm a bit in the bar afterwards. He was so nice. He offered to get an Uber, so I gave him my address and we both got in. He held my hand in the back, but that was all, and when we reached my house, he said he had already put in his address to carry on and just wanted to kiss me goodnight. But I invited him in. You initiated. Yes, and he said no at first, but I insisted. Eventually, I convinced him. I took him into my living room and we continued kissing. He was so nice. I wasn't sure I wanted to go all the way through with it, but he started undressing me and... I would assume you know you can say anything at this point. He started performing oral sex on me. I offered to swap and he said he didn't mind. I gave him a chance to stop. You told him to stop? No, only if he wanted. He had the chance, but he continued and then we had sex on the sofa. And then what happened? I told him I would like an ice lolly from the freezer. An ice lolly? Well, it was just an excuse to get him to go into the kitchen. And why did you want him to do that? I thought it was only fair. He understood what was going to happen. I could have just told him, but he was so nice. I didn't think he would believe me. That it would be possible people could be so different from how they present themselves. But I've never let any man live after he's been inside me. That's weird, right? And I felt terrible that such a nice man had fallen for it. I did give him a few chances, though. When he saw what was in the freezer, he understood, but it was obviously too late by then. You know the rest. Let's take a break. Interview suspended 15:59.